speakers would be flexible, completely flexible. And I think that's really the takeaway here is be flexible. Like you can be firm in the things that matter most. Like if you cannot afford to take less than a certain dollar amount for a speaking gig, you stand by that. But if you have the flexibility, you should consider what you can do to serve the client. Like shoot your shot. You never know where that flexibility is going to come from. So keeping an open mind is so important, especially with so much competition right now.
A little bit about how do we get those doors open in this age of mass competition. And still, speaking is one of the most amazing careers you can have with regards to impact and revenue potential, prosperity, lifestyle, all of those things. Doesn't matter how many bureaus and agents you're aligned with. It's going to be like any other business where you put your elbow grease in right alongside. So how do you get those doors opened? And I guess more importantly, or just as importantly, is talk to me a little bit about where corporate event organizers and experienced, let's say, keynoters are and are not aligned. Like, how do we communicate in a way where they'll give us the time of day?
Oh, so much to unpack.
So much to unpack.
Okay, let's start. Organizers want the compelling stories. They want to have education. They want to have engagement. Budget is part of that, but they have an expectation to that once they pick a budget, say it's $10,000 to $15,000, that then what needs to get met are the following. It's engagement, it's education. One thing that's really an interesting angle that's becoming more and more important that I should mention is value-driven decisions. And so what we're seeing in increased amounts every year that we've done this report is that it matters more to speakers that they're choosing event bookings based on the values of the organization that's requesting them. And so know your values. Like if you're not sure where you stand on certain causes, like you should know what matters most to you, within flexibility. One thing where it's an interesting differentiation, I would say, is, we ask this question because we are in such a polarizing time in society. And so we ask the question, how, for an event organizer, how likely are you to ask a speaker to change their content to be less polarizing or to benefit, be more general for an audience? And we've had some mixed things. Most of them would do it in some level. I think about it. I consider it. But overwhelmingly, speakers would be flexible, completely flexible. And I think that's really the takeaway here is be flexible. Like, you can be firm in the things that matter most. Like if you cannot afford to take less than a certain dollar amount for a speaking gig, like then you stand by that. But if you have the flexibility, you should consider what you can do to serve the client. I met with a speaker, a friend of mine that's in Texas when I was there recently. And, he said a lot of things. He had so much insight, about, speaking fees and keeping them level and knowing where his market is. But he also, had an opportunity that was presented by his daughter. And he said, I wasn't working that day and they wanted somebody to come into a nonprofit and maybe had $1,000 budget. And you know what? $1,000 is more than $0 I was making that day. So I took it. So you never know, like, shoot your shot. You never know where that flexibility is going to come from. So keeping an open mind is so important, especially with so much competition right now. But value-driven decision-making has been something that's kind of generational. It's like, as millennials come further into the workforce and higher up ranks in organizations, it's just more important. And making sure that you're clear about what your values are and that you know what the values of the organization you're going to are. Like if there's a match, that's a great situation to be in.
Yes. Okay. Before you go on, I definitely want to touch on some keys that you gave there. So, yes, know what your values are and stand on those, but also do your research, do your homework, and know what the values are of that organization, even if it happens to be a podcast, right? An unpaid engagement. Do your homework. Know who you're speaking for and to so that you can align your message with their values as well. And that's the surest way to get called back. I love that you said, if you're going to take a gig way under what your normal fee would be, go into it fully aligned with their values and fully delivering at the highest level, because really your next biggest engagement can be right there in that room. Right. So treat it with the highest level of respect, never be a diva, and give more than you receive. And that's where your opportunities are really going to come from.